Do you have a nipping puppy at home? Well, you're in luck. I have all the tips and tricks you'll need to get through this intense phase of puppy nipping. So first, let's talk about the why really quickly. So puppies don't have hands, and that leaves them with their mouths to explore and investigate the world around them, leaving us subjected to being nipped a lot. So when they're puppies, if they're playing with their litter mates, they're using their mouths a lot. They're playing with their mouths or investigating each other with their mouths. And if one puppy bites another puppy too hard, this puppy might yelp and stop the play and walk away. If that's done consistently over a little bit of time, this puppy will learn, in order to keep the play going, I need to not bite them that hard. Otherwise, they'll leave. This teaches them bite inhibition, which is basically a fancy way of saying it makes them aware of how much pressure they're using with their mouths. Now, what do we need to do? All right, here's some things that you should keep in mind. The first thing I start with is how to be properly prepared for not only a puppy in the house, but to address nipping in particular. So some of the stuff you'll need are as follows. You'll need some small, easily consumable training treats or food rewards. And I normally recommend that you leave little treat stations around the house. This means a little baggie, a Tupperware, a jar, easily accessible containers that you can grab treats right in the moment for on-the-fly puppy nipping. The other thing you can do proactively is to have a leash handy, preferably if you're actively supervising your puppy, which most of us are doing at all times when we're home with the puppy, leaving it on them to drag around the house, which allows you to easily remove them in certain situations of nipping, whether they're nipping your children or a family member or whatnot. You can easily have access to removing your puppy without getting invasive on them or picking them up every time. So treats, treat stations, a leash, and then lastly, I love having not only toys available on the ground for the puppy, you definitely want to have a couple different options for them to get to if they get excited so that they don't just have you to choose. You want them to have some options that don't include your pants or shoelaces. And so you want to have that, but also you want to have novel toys, which basically means having a couple of toys that your puppy does not see in any other context except for when we're trying to redirect for nipping in particular or for some other things. But definitely for nipping, having a couple toys your puppy is not used to seeing is going to immediately have the puppy engage with the toy. Mistake people make is they pick up the old rope toy that's sitting on the ground for God knows how long, probably since the day you got the puppy, it's been sitting there. And if we try to pick that up and engage with them, most puppies are not going to be interested. So if you have a novel toy, they're almost definitely going to be interested in it, which leaves us easier to address the nipping situation. So treats, treat stations, leash, novel toys, and toys available on the floor. That's your preparation stuff. Now responding to it. Here's some examples. You're petting the puppy. Everything seems fine. They seem calm. You're petting. And all of a sudden, in the middle of petting, they go, ah, and they start opening their mouths and turning on you, right? The moment that that happens, you need to bring your hands in, your arms in, stop petting them, stop looking at them, stop talking to them, stop playing with them. Let's just disengage completely. Now, some puppies, depending on when you do that, if you wait after a few nips, it's less effective. So you want to do this the moment that they start. But if they keep coming at you or they're already riled up for whatever reason, then maybe you walk away or maybe you just turn away, stand up and turn away from them. So there's ways of following through to the next level, but the general gist of this is that you want to immediately stop engaging and start teaching them that when you nip, everything fun stops. There's no attention, no affection, no playtime, no petting, no praise, no looking, etc. And that way your puppy will be like, every time I do that, everything stops, which is not what they want. So that's the beginning of teaching this. The other example is if you are playing with them. If you're playing tug or playing fetch or something like that, let's say you're playing tug and engaging with the toy, puppy's playing, we're having a good time, and then all of a sudden they start coming up towards your hand or your arm. If you see it coming, you can drop the toy proactively, but if they get to your hand, I want you to just drop the toy, hands in, stand up or walk off, And you want these disengagement moments to be smooth and immediate in order for them to be as effective as they can be. Now, there's other situations, but those are two kind of broad ones, general ones that most people face, and I just like to give them as an example so people know how to address this. We'll talk about what to avoid doing in a moment. So, example with play, example with petting. Now, if there's random moments, I have a lot of clients who say, I just walk by the puppy and they just start jumping on me and nipping. Well, if that's the case, again, remembering management, having the preparation stuff ready, if they have a drag line on them, you can just immediately remove them, walk them away, walk them into their playpen, walk them into their crate, walk them over to a toy or a long-lasting chew. Just walk them with that and redirect them. Now, what to avoid. This is so important. This is as important as what to do proactively. So what to avoid? Let's avoid yelling at the puppy or physically touching them. So yelling, yelling at them, yelling no. No is not a behavior. And anything yelling or shouting at the dog is going, especially a puppy, is going to make them nervous around you, stressed, fearful. It can really impact them at this stage as well. So let's just avoid anything that's going to startle the puppy. Remember, they're never doing this to be malicious or to purposely hurt you. It's completely natural. So we don't want to yell at them for something that's completely natural for them to do. So don't yell, don't shout. You also want to avoid anything physical. So you want to avoid, shutting their mouth, tapping them on the nose or hitting them on the butt or any type of physical harm like that. I know people don't mean to, mean it always in a mean way. They think that is what we should be doing, but you should not be doing that. Again, it's a dog, it's a puppy. They have no idea what any of that stuff is, and they're only going to view it as negative and scary. So, and also it doesn't really work. So it doesn't teach your puppy what we prefer them to be doing. So in essence, it's completely a waste of time for you and also has negative side effects on your dog. So let's just avoid that. Screeching, movement, like really erratic movement, waving of the hands. So I know a lot of people when their puppies start nipping, they all of a sudden look like, a puppet. They're going like this, which only makes you more enticing, more interesting, more excitable to your dog and going to further probably make them want to nip you and jump at you. So we want to avoid that, which is why I always say hands in, arms in. Be a tree is what I tell a lot of people. So just kind of stand there. Trees don't run or scream or move around a lot. So you want to be boring in essence. So this is contrary to popular, I don't know, opinion, I guess. You'll see a lot of articles or things online that say you should yelp, right? So you should act like a puppy, and when your puppy nips you, like yelp at them. Early on in my career, I used to read things like that as well, and I think that's what the community thought was good. And it's not that it's a real harmful thing to do. I just found over the years, and I currently find with clients that are doing it, that it doesn't really work that well because it takes a lot of timing and tone, and it's got to be perfectly aligned for it to really impact in any way. And also, I'll find most clients are going to be yiping a lot throughout the day because their puppies are just mouthing everything and everybody. So I find that, again, actions speak louder than words here. So I rather just go into an action, removal, disengagement, redirection versus yiping all day long, because I just find that it doesn't really work and people are going to be wasting a lot of breath doing these weird sounds at their puppy. Lastly, on the avoid list, rough house playing with your hands. So you want to avoid wrestling or rough housing with the hands with your puppy. Now, I know some people like doing this and some puppies like it. And I think rough housing can be okay at some level for some dogs. But if you're going to do it, just put a toy in their mouth or use a toy during the rough play. Really try to avoid using your hands only, because that's basically, in essence, an invitation to say, get at my hands. It's counterproductive to what we're trying to do with the nipping, right? So avoid that. Now, I do want to take a moment and talk about children and puppies. we're raising children in some households, and we're raising a puppy, which is a lot of work. So my main thing I try to dive into with families that have young children and young puppies in the house is management. Again, I'm going to keep harping on this. Management. Having things prepped, having things ready, having the dog leashed or having a leash on the dog dragging around is imperative when you are actively supervising children and young puppies. So active supervision is important. So if you're not watching what's happening with children and a puppy, we're bound to have a messy interaction at some point, and we're going to be coming in reactively. My job is to try to hone in on being proactive. So if you're watching everything and the puppy starts to nip a child, best to stand up, grab the leash, gently walk them off, wait for them to cool off, or you can redirect them to a toy or a chew or something else to do. And then if the puppy calms down, we can then allow the puppy access back to the children or back to the play area, and we try again. This takes consistency, guys. This is not going to go away off of 1 or 2 removals. We have to stay on this like anything in life in order to see results, right? So that's another thing to really hone in on is management, management, management. Leashes, gates, and crates or playpens are all going to be your friend. Now, approaches to the puppy should be, as best as we can, children and adults, should be calm and purposeful, right? So we don't want to go up to the puppy like, yeah, and like immediately start getting hype and excitable and moving our hands around a lot, because we're just going to provoke the puppy to nip. So calm and purposeful, not excitable or erratic, if possible, whenever possible. And if they do nip, remove them immediately and smoothly. So it's got to be immediate and smooth to the next thing. Now I will say this, as eager as you are to train your puppy on how to behave around your children, you should be equally as eager to train your children and teach your children how to properly interact with the puppy. So important. So here's the bottom line, guys, to wrap this up. Nipping should equate to immediate disengagement, removal of the toy, removal of the fun, removal of the play, everything ceases. And if the puppy is not nipping and choosing better behaviors, that equates to playing and praise and petting and affection and attention and rewards and everything else. When there is nipping going on, you can remove, walk the puppy somewhere, put them somewhere, redirect to food or toy, or you can remove them and then reward good behaviors. So if you remove the puppy from your kids and the puppy sits or lies down or stops, reward them with a food reward or a toy. So you can remove or redirect is an easy way to remember it. And throughout the day, aside from nipping, just a final note, find things to reward. I find when we have puppies, we're training and we're focused on a lot, but it might be great to just take a step back and be like, hey, there's treats around the house, there's toys around the house. Anytime the puppy's doing something calm, let's reward them, right? Reward them with food, reward them with a toy, reward them with some affection if they're not nipping. But I love using food here because if you don't have to worry about them nipping you in that moment because you're using the food as payment. And if they're lying down on their beds or just chilling out around the kids and watching them play versus getting involved and getting nippy, if you reinforce that, you will see more of what gets rewarded. All right? So, final note, stay consistent, persistent, and patient. And you might just survive your little land shark's nipping phase.